Chapter 6. The alarm on Blake's phone went off at 6:30 that morning. He stopped the loud beeping and checked the screen of his phone to see if his mother had returned his calls. No missed calls. What was she doing in California? He didn't know what to think. His father acted like everything was normal. "She'll be back in a few weeks," he told Blake. He was concerned, but there was little he could do to change things between his parents. "Just focus on your fresh start," he said aloud. He was back in Friendly Valley, where there were more cows than people. He already missed the little coffee shop in the French Quarter he'd visited each day to get a mocha, and the beautiful architecture that he gazed at while walking to work. But he was going to make the most of this new opportunity he had to bring fine dining to Friendly. The hum of his father's tractor droned in the background outside of the basement window. Blake got out of bed and watched his dad for a few moments. Years ago, his parents had made a guest room out of the unfinished basement. Blake's former bedroom belonged to Luke now, so he'd chosen to sleep in the guest room. He'd hoped to talk to his dad before he headed out to work, but his father was a man of habits. Every morning, no matter what, he was in the kitchen sipping coffee and eating 3 scrambled eggs, 2 pieces of toast, and an apple. By 5:30, he was out in the barn or somewhere else on the property preparing for a full day of work. It was typical of Blake's father to leave the house in the morning and not return until after 5 or 6 in the evening. Blake would have to wait until that night to have another conversation with his father. He took a shower and got dressed. His dad had left him a plate of scrambled eggs, toast, and 2 slices of bacon. Blake grabbed a cup of coffee, marveled at the quality of the eggs his dad had made before eating, and headed for work. Blake grabbed the keys to his old truck and headed out. The Green Ranger was sitting behind the barn where he assumed it stayed most of the time. After leaving for the Army, Alexis drove the truck until she moved out. After that, his parents used it for quick trips into town. Blake stuck the key in the ignition and cranked it 3 times before the engine came to life. He smiled and headed to his new job. Friendly hadn't changed too much in his absence. Ben's Grocery was still the only place to shop for food, and Hometown Heroes was the go-to restaurant in town. The hall behind Hometown Heroes had a sign sculpted in fancy lettering spelling out elegance. Blake parked and noticed a woman standing in front of the restaurant. He waved at her. She approached the truck, snapping pictures on her phone. Who are you?" he asked. "Oh, I'm sorry. It was rude for me to start snapping photos. I'm just excited that something is actually happening in our town. I'm Jada Sims of the Friendly Gazette." She held out her hand. Blake shook it. "Friendly has a newspaper again? The previous one went out of business when I was like 10. "So I've heard. Newspapers are treasures. We can't go back and just edit them. Whatever is in a paper remains. A website can easily be changed. Newspapers are hard copy. So I'm here to get the scoop on elegance and the new chef in town." Blake wasn't ready for an interview, and elegance wasn't ready for a reporter to take photos, he didn't think. "I appreciate you coming out, but I don't think the place is ready to be seen." "What if I just come in for a tour? No pictures." That sounded okay, but Blake knew how hard it was for reporters to not take pictures. He'd witnessed this photo compulsion when he was in the war zone. Some things shouldn't be photographed, but reporters wanted the scoop. "Maybe we can arrange an official tour after I get things in order." "Can I get a sneak peek, please?" Jada asked. She seemed rather eager. "What's the rush?" "Well, I'm here for more than the paper. My fiancé and I are getting married soon, and we don't have anything ready. I'm not sure what to do, but I want a memorable wedding, something elegant and different." Blake felt his pulse race. Opening a restaurant while simultaneously planning a wedding would be overwhelming. "When is the wedding?" "No date yet, but soon." "I'm not sure Don't answer now," Jada said, covering her ears. Maribel's old F-150 roared into a parking space on the street. Jordan was right behind her. "Good morning. Thanks for coming," Blake said. "Hello, Blake." "Jada, hey," Jordan said, smiling as she headed in their direction. "Hey, ladies," Jada said. "Hey," Maribel responded. "Where's Denise?" "There she is," Jordan said. Denise's black Monte Carlo parked behind Jordan's car. "Good morning, everyone," Denise said. "My other job gave me the day off. I hope this is worth my time," Maribel said. "Oh, it will be, and don't worry, any time you spend here is on the clock." Jordan and Maribel gave one another surprised looks. "All right, then, I'm all yours." "What do you want us to do?" Maribel asked. Just a second, Mar. Jada, I'm glad you're here, but we're not ready for a reporter. Don't worry, I've cleared things with Blake here. No pictures today. I didn't. Denise cut Blake off with an icy smile. All right. Well, if our executive chef is ready to show off the place he hasn't seen, I guess we should all head inside. The space was nothing like the elegant historic structures that line the streets of New Orleans, but it had a certain charm. The building was over 100 years old, and it had once been part of the main dining room. Friendly had started off as a mining town. The saloon expanded and became a restaurant, and once gold was found in the mountains, Friendly had a boom. After the gold mine collapsed the first time, the town lost population, putting Friendly's existence in jeopardy. Over the next century, mines opened and closed in quick succession. The cycle of boom and bust and a decline of the quality of minerals from the mines had left the town without a major industry other than cattle ranching. Hometown Heroes, which had gone through its own cycle of boom and bust, closed the banquet room decades before, but the Morrisons had done a great job cleaning the place up and preparing for a new phase. This place looks good, Blake said to Denise. Well, I'm glad you think so. This is a dream we've had for a long time. Mind if we show Jada around? Jordan asked. No pictures, but sure. I want to talk to Blake for a few minutes anyway. I appreciate the opportunity to run a kitchen, Blake said, but I'm open to all suggestions. We are so lucky to have a real chef in our midst. I don't have any suggestions. I can't wait to see what you come up with. I have some ideas about what I'd like to have on the menu. Excellent. We'd like to have an open house in a week. Art will miss it, but I would love a big grand opening. We figure spring is a good time to introduce elegance. People will come out of curiosity. Fine dining will initially be a hard sell, but with a homegrown chef and the new county commissioner, Harley Leader, pushing new ideas, I think we'll do fine. I'm so happy to be at the reins, Blake replied, feeling anxiety rise in his throat. A week? Would he be able to come up with a full menu in that time frame? You kids are saving our town. Are Maribel and Jordan the only other employees? Blake asked. Yes, but there's a familiar face managing the remodel. Oh yeah? Who? Blake asked. Jeremy Hunt. Blake felt his face fall. He hoped Denise didn't realize how displeased he was to hear this news. Jeremy. I haven't seen him in years. But that's not long enough, Blake thought. He's such a surprise. I thought he'd just fade away after he was out of high school. You know how the jocks are. They shine in high school and never move on to anything after being a football star. I'm impressed with his accomplishments. Look at this wonderful bar top Jeremy's company refurbished, Denise said, running her hand over the cultured marble top. Blake couldn't deny it was beautiful work. He hadn't talked with Jeremy in years, and their friendship fizzled soon after he left for the Army. Jeremy Hunt was always a talented guy. I'm glad he found his niche. He is one of the most eligible bachelors in the Valley. I can't believe he has no interest in having a family. I hope you feel different than he does. A good man is hard to find. Blake smiled and thought, Jeremy and I are as different as you can get. The front door chimed. We're back here, Denise called. A man with a hat pulled down, blocking his eyes, entered the space. Jeremy? Blake said, barely recognizing his old high school buddy. I can't believe my eyes. I heard a rumor you were coming back, but I didn't believe it. Jeremy walked over and held out his hand, delivering a firm slap hold of Blake's hand. It's been such a long time. How are you? I'll let you two catch up. I've got some paperwork to do, Denise said, heading towards the kitchen. All right, I'll finish up the crown molding before I go, Jeremy said, before turning to Blake. Blake Peterson, I can't believe this. Life is good and friendly. What brings you back home? My family. Jeremy smiled. Of course, you're still a very good boy. Are you taking care of the kids? You'll have your hands full. Your little brothers aren't like you. Blake didn't know what he meant by that, but he knew better than to challenge the idea. Clearly, a lot of things were going on with his family that he wasn't aware of. I'm surprised you're still in Friendly. Thought you might move away after high school. Well, I got that football scholarship at the U, got injured the first season and started over. I couldn't play football anymore, so I came home and made something of myself. That's wonderful. You still a bachelor, huh? Forever, man. As if on cue, Maribel appeared in the doorway of the kitchen. Blake instantly felt uncomfortable. He remembered all the days the three of them had spent together years ago. Maribel came through the double doors of the kitchen. Maribel, Jeremy said, nodding his head. Jeremy, she responded. I guess the gang's back together. The three of us were so close back in the day, Blake said, hoping to break the tension. It's weird for the three of us to be in one place again, Jeremy said. Never thought that would happen. It is something. Well, I guess we'll all have to work with one another. Shouldn't be a problem. After all, Maribel is the same as she was back in the day. We won't have any issues with her, Jeremy said, speaking as if Maribel was not in the room. Well, if you're talking about how beautiful she is, that's true. That definitely hasn't changed, Blake said. Maribel's eyes lit up. Blake noticed her cheeks redden. So, do you have a menu for this place? I can't wait to see what you're going to do with the kitchen, Jeremy said, changing the subject. Will you be wearing one of those cute little aprons? It was just like when they were kids. Jeremy dominated the conversation and playfully demeaned the two of them. But now that Blake was listening to him as an adult, he realized Jeremy had been making fun of them when they were younger. I'll wear whatever I need to wear to prevent cross-contamination, burns, cuts, all that good stuff, Blake responded. I'm going to go find Denise, Maribel said. Blake recognized the old cue. When they were in high school, they had a system that helped them escape when Jeremy was trying to get them to do things they didn't want to do. One of them would say they had somewhere to go, and the other would follow suit. I'll be there in a few minutes, Blake added. Jeremy winked at Blake after Maribel was gone. She's missed you. I was shocked you left her behind. Blake didn't take the bait. Hey, I'm joking. Let's get a beer, Jeremy said, slugging Blake in the arm. I don't drink. Still? Blake smiled. Yeah, I'm not a drinker. Well, you've been in town for a few days and we haven't had a chance to catch up. We used to be so close. Remember? Football, scout, school, church. We were like brothers. Blake remembered being close with Jeremy, but he didn't think they'd reached the level of brotherhood. Never thought you'd come back here, but I'm glad you did. Let's catch up. I'll get you a soda or something. All right, Blake said, not sure he wanted to know what Jeremy had been up to. So I've heard there have been some problems with your folks. Sorry about that. I'm sure it'll be fine, Blake said, even though he wasn't sure that was true. You're probably glad you're a free man, huh? If you're referring to the divorce, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. There aren't any kids, right? I mean, how bad could it be? You got out of a marriage. I planned to marry once and stay that way, Blake said. That was your first mistake. Why marry when you can date? I think of women as a buffet. It's the best way to not get caught in a bad situation. I've never been one of those guys who jumped around. You know that. Yeah, and I never understood that about you. You've got the military thing going for you and you're a chef. The ladies love all that, Jeremy responded. I know, but I'm at an age where I want a specific type of lady, not a lot of ladies. But enough about me. What's your story? Well, I got into construction and discovered I had a knack for design. So I started trying my hand at it. It lined up well with woodworking and other stuff I like to do, so I started a business, Jeremy's Designs. So far, I've been able to work on bars and nightclubs around the valley and as far away as Denver. I've got a little condo in downtown Denver that I use as a short-term rental. When I need to go there, I don't let anybody book the place. That's pretty nice to have. Denver's a great town. Wow, so you're back and forth between Friendly and Denver? Yep, and everywhere in between. It's a great life. Well, I'm glad you're happy. Thanks. Hey, you should come down to the condo in Denver and hang out. I'll show you around town. That's nice of you, but I've got things going on here. I got to get things in order at my parents' house. You aren't planning on staying here long term, are you? It was a good question. Was this Blake's final stop? I'm here now, but I haven't ruled out leaving again at some point. Jeremy smiled. His eyes were bright. You know, there's a guy I know that owns a real top-notch restaurant in downtown Denver. We're talking real upscale. He's had trouble finding a good chef. I know you'd be great, and you'd love this place. Want me to ask if he's still looking for a chef? He's been covering the chef position himself. Blake had never been to Denver, but a head chef position at a restaurant in a major city was his dream. But he'd just come home to Friendly to help his family. Even so, it would be nice to get an offer for a head chef position, even if he had to turn it down. And what if things didn't work out at Elegance? Blake wasn't sure if the fast track opening with 2 staff members was going to work out. It might be a good idea to have a second plan in place. What type of restaurant? Tapas. Blake's favorite type of cooking. Small plates, big taste. You know this guy well? Jeremy shrugged. Yeah, I know him well. You want me to put in a good word for you? I think that's something I might be interested in. Good choice, man. Friendly's a nice place, but there's not much here for an eligible bachelor. You need to head out there with me. You're going to love Denver. Blake had an affinity for cities. If nothing else, he probably would need a break after getting his teenage siblings settled. Thanks, Jeremy, Blake said, shaking his friend's hand. So when you want to head to Denver? Thanks, but I told you, I've got to get things in order first. Is your mom back in town? Not yet, Blake said, hoping that statement would be different in a few days, maybe weeks. Well, just remember that they aren't kids. Well, at least they're not your kids. And they're all teenagers. So, older kids. Yeah, but they're still kids, and they're my siblings. I left them once before, and I'm not going to leave them again, Blake said, feeling himself getting worked up. All right, calm down. Just saying, don't forget to live your life. You have one life, and time's ticking. Enjoy it, buddy.